A Sunday morning, the 28th of June, 1914. On a narrow street in Sarajevo, a 19-year-old raised a pistol and fired twice. Within 100 days, those two shots pulled 41 countries into war. Within 4 years, around 17 million people were dead. But this is not only Europe's story. That war drew the map the Middle East still lives inside. The borders, the countries, and a promise that was made and then erased. To understand how any of it happened, you have to start in the Europe of 1914. A world that believed it was the most civilized age in history. On the surface, Europe was at its peak. Railways, electric light, the telegraph, and empires that between them controlled half the planet. Underneath that surface, the great empires were circling each other. Britain, France, Germany, Russia, Austria-Hungary, and every one of them was tied to the others by a chain of alliances. Those alliances were built to prevent a war. They did the opposite. Think of climbers roped together on a narrow ledge. As long as everyone stays on their feet, the rope is safety. But if one of them falls, the rope drags all of them over. In 1914, one of them fell. The man who was killed was Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary. His killer, Gavrilo Princip, was a Bosnian Serb who wanted his region out of Austrian hands. The day itself was almost absurd. The first attempt failed. A bomb went off, but the car had already passed. Ferdinand carried on with his schedule anyway. Austria-Hungary blamed Serbia and declared war on the 28th of July. The chain of alliances began to pull. Within 7 days, most of Europe was at war. Everyone assumed it would be finished by Christmas. Crowds cheered in the streets and threw flowers at the soldiers leaving. It ended 4 years and 3 months later. The reason is that the generals had prepared for an older war. They still pictured cavalry and bold attacks. But technology had quietly handed the advantage to whoever was defending. A single machine gun could put 600 rounds a minute across open ground. To attack it, men had to cross that ground on foot. So both sides did something nobody had planned for. They started digging. By the end of 1914, a line of trenches ran for 700 kilometers. That line moved less than 10 kilometers in 4 years. Life inside it meant mud, cold water, rats the size of cats, and a rotting foot condition they simply called trench foot. But the most dangerous thing in a trench was never the rifle fire. It was artillery. Roughly 2 out of every 3 men killed in that war were killed by shells. Then, in 1915 near Ypres in Belgium, a yellow-green cloud drifted toward the trenches. Chlorine. The first large-scale use of poison gas in history. And the war did not stay in Europe. The Ottoman Empire joined Germany, which carried the fighting into the Middle East, into a region where millions of Kurds, Arabs, Turks and Armenians lived. In 1915 the Gallipoli landings failed, at a cost of more than 200,000 casualties. In the Caucasus, thousands of Ottoman soldiers froze to death rather than being shot. By 1916, 2 names had become shorthand for death itself. Verdun and the Somme. On the first day of the Somme, the British Army took nearly 60,000 casualties. That same battle introduced a new machine. An armored box that crawled forward on tracks. The tank. It was slow and it broke down constantly, but it changed every war that came after. In 1917 the balance broke. Russia left the war through revolution, and America entered it. At 11 o'clock on the 11th of November, 1918, the guns stopped. The bill was around 17 million dead. But the armistice ended the fighting, not the consequences. The peace treaties cut the Ottoman Empire into new countries with new borders, and much of that map was drawn by outsiders. Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan. And the sharpest case of all is the one people rarely mention. In 1920, the Treaty of Sèvres named Kurdish autonomy. 3 years later at Lausanne, the the Kurds were not mentioned at all, and the region was split across 4 states. That is where this story ends, and where another one begins.